So we just tried the new countdown. We'll see how that comes out after the video drops completely. But welcome back, everybody. 100 Proof Whitetails. Dad stops down to kind of go through our process on how we flesh out what we're doing every year on our piece of property and the properties that we hunt, and kind of give you guys a little bit of a look through the glass on it a little bit, kind of pick it apart.
Maybe you'll pick up a little organizational skills. I'm not saying we're skilled, but the way we did it or do it right or wrong, give you a little idea of how we go about it. Otherwise, it gets to be pretty overwhelming. You can get in over your head, so to speak.
Real quick with it, for sure. So we got a bunch of different topics, and we'll be able to share the screen over as we go with it. But usually, kind of just talking how we usually go about this. It's usually a couple notepads, and it's a lot less formal, I guess we'll call it.
Right. Well, we're trying to scope it so you guys can learn something from it, so to speak, as opposed to at the end of the podcast say, what the hell were they talking about?
But yeah, so usually it's and it's usually over a larger span than just an hour, or
it's usually a couple 2-3 days, because hey, I thought about this instead of doing that, and so what we're trying to condense it and make it so it was seamless, so to speak.
And this is by no means our final. It's just a really roughed out game plan for where we want to go this year with different stuff.
Yeah, and some of the stuff is on the project list, so to speak, for a year or two down the road. It doesn't have a lot of precedence. It's just a dream or whatever. We have some stuff that carries over accordingly too. We don't try to get all the stuff accomplished in 1 year. It just don't happen that way.
Yeah, it just depends on what how timing goes with everything. I mean,
well, that and money, just like anything else. That and what benefit are we going to get out of putting this much money into that said project this year, as opposed to 3, 4, or 5 years down the road. Look at it from a bigger picture, but also look at it from a picture this year coming up.
Yeah. And some of the background on the property, we've owned it now since, you guys have owned it. You guys bought it in 2007. So we're going on, what's that, year 16 going into 17 with it, and it's come a long way.
yeah, to say the least. Just from the records that we got as far as what kind of deer take / what kind of deer were living there, what kind of deer live there now, quantity, quality, all the above. It's all comes together after a while. After a while, you can't expect this to happen in 1 or 2 years. That just don't work.
Yeah, and not saying that we haven't made mistakes along the way, and some stuff we would have tweaked, done different.
We would have, and some of those quote unquote mistakes were not necessarily a mistake by our fault, but maybe something got cut, bought, sold on a neighbor or whatever. And of course, that might change our mix, how we got to go about this because of that. Or is different, or got hostile neighbor, or what we got going on. All that stuff comes into play, and it comes into play sometimes on a short-term basis, meaning like, hey, the neighbor sold out. There was some people building a house out back there.
Right.
We haven't had that happen, but it's not like it can't.
Well, we've had a couple new neighbors build houses. Eric's built a house. More active landowners adjacent and different stuff's changed the way stuff flows. So
it most certainly does.
And that's changed a lot of the way that we kind of lay out and design the property now, is to almost insulate ourselves versus a lot of those outside changes. The best we can.
It does, but it also, and that's partially because of the way it changes the way the animals travel it. Eric's in case in point with this stuff that's going on top of his hill, that end of that hill where they used to cut across. That they just don't happen.
Well, the turkeys don't really roost on that knob no more.
Well, that's because
changes stuff.
That's his dooryard.
Yep.
Literally.
Right.
Literally.
Beautiful place to build a house.
Oh no, I'm all over that, but I'm sure he wasn't thinking about Longbeard on the limb when he was putting up the frame and stuff. But that's cool too, though.
First bird I killed off the farm came off that knob.
That's where he came.
Well, he was roosting that morning, was up there
down below that, and them locusts. But
but that's since changed. But
all
right. Well, I guess we'll pick into it a little bit, or we can pour a little bit of something. So this is one of our top whiskeys from last year for the podcast. This was that knob store pick from Ryan's, which they still do have a handful of these when I was in there 3 weeks ago. So maybe they don't have a handful of them anymore. But Dad was enjoying this at my diaper party, and he was like, "Hey," he's like, "I think I want some of that Knob Creek tonight." And I was like, "All right." I said, "We could do that." We still got some of it, and Hannah was nice enough to grab me 2 backup bottles of this for Christmas as a Christmas present. So
we probably won't need that tonight.
No,
anyway.
no, absolutely not. I got dad duty tonight, so it's just light.
To the little one?
The little one. Yeah.
Yep.
Pile of bone.
Yeah, you want to talk about them a little bit before we get into
kind of where we started and where we got,
where you started. I haven't picked up any yet, but
yeah,
we can go through them one by one, or you just want me to
we can do that.
Throw them on the floor. What do you want me to
you
do?
can just toss them off to the side when we're done with them.
I'll do that.
So that's Lucky, 3-year-old. I actually found him not far from where I found that shed, actually, up on that same ridge top is where I found that shed. He broke that off, I think, sparring. You can see he had kind of a rough pedicle break. And he hung on to his left side for almost another month, but then he has since dropped out. He's got some kind of unique coloration on his face, kind of make him pretty identifiable, but he's a good, nice looking buck. I mean, we'd like to see a little bit more. Obviously, antler wise would be great at 3, but I passed him 2 or 3 different sets this past year.
3,
yeah,
right?
Pretty sure he's 3.
3.5.
3.5, yeah.
Oh.
Going to be 4 this year, and kind of reminds you a lot of double wide that you got, kind of wide, flat. Not that tall.
It doesn't tip off quite as much.
No, but it kind of sits back off his head a little bit.
Well, I'm so sure that's not because the pedicle's been damaged on the back side.
Right.
The way it might lay back onto his skull like that a little bit more. But
yeah,
that's without looking at a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
I don't look at them quite nowhere near like Ben does, so I don't know.
Well, that's what, when we get to that one shed, Nate made reference to that the other night.
Right.
Actually, check the comments.
That's it on that one?
Yep. Yeah, that's Lucky. But, and then the other ones, that's just a 2.5-er. He showed up. You said that was the one you're pretty sure showed up in the dooryard the other day.
Yeah.
So he didn't.
About 2-3 weeks ago, he came through.
So he shed pretty recently, but he's been kind of holding tight to this one field with two other 1.5-year-olds. So I'm assuming his other side's probably not far because he was daily in that one field. I'm not surprised we found it in that one. So we were just around I was around checking plots the other day, and we grabbed a few of them because they were sitting in the plots, tines up. So, not gonna leave them out there.
Yeah.
So, but we just started, picking away a couple passes, and we'll be after it now that the weather's breaking a little bit more. But that's that one that hangs out right around First Trail. Another 2-year-old, really good up and coming buck.
Got that one busted right straight off.
Yeah, he's chipped up. He actually hangs out with Crafty, the one that we're really looking for his antlers this year. He's probably the best scoring, I guess, deer that we've got around.
In all actuality, if you look at that, the way that lays out, splays back,
he's pretty wide.
Quite reminiscent of double wide.
Yeah.
How that comes out flat.
Yeah.
And then just goes up straight.
Yeah, the brows kind of look similar. I mean, it's crazy how much similarities you see to them picking up the bone year to year. The different bucks and stuff like that. But another nice 2-year-old. We got a lot of 2-year-olds this year. Just kind of happens to be. That one's the one I haven't really found a name for him yet.
That's that half of that one that showed up.
Yeah, no,
that's
the other one. That's the one that showed up.
Okay.
This is that 3.5-year-old 7-pointer that hung out. Kind of took over the roost. He was a 6 last year, and he just finally put that little itty bitty one on that kind of, I guess, that makes him a 7, I guess. But he was a 6 last year. That was the one you almost shot last year that you were thinking about. That one that was only a 6-pointer.
No, kid.
Yeah.
Last year you didn't have much of brow time.
No. But popping into that spot, working into that, age class, trying to follow these deer year to year, score wise. Like I said, we're not chasing any booners by any means, but they're good quality, got some age to them now, and we're, getting able to get after a couple of them every year, and just hunting it smart, hunting it right. But yeah, that's the one. He doesn't really have a name. I just call him 7-point now. I don't know. Something will come to me for him.
Well, if he turns into something
unique or whatever,
something develops, or whatever. It's hard to say.
Yeah, and this is the new guy just showed up. I think he literally showed up last week at January. Just randomly showed up on one of the borders, on one of the border cams, and was kind of surprised he showed up. You know, we don't have a lot of 10-point gene. It's mostly 8s the last couple of years. But really nice looking buck. And it was funny. I sent mom and dad a picture, and then me and Nate and Owen went out the other night, literally last night, and did a little walkabout through one of the areas that's pretty heavy hogweed that we can't get into late for shed hunting because it just gets overrun with hogweed quick. And we were able to find a little dead head that got hit by a car, died during velvet, I'm assuming, and then found this guy. So I think we're going to maybe call him O because it's the first one Owen got a chance to pick up. So we'll just call him O. Don't want to really name him after Nate's kid, but I think O fits him. We'll just call him O. Because that's what I said. That's almost what I said when I was thumbing through pictures and I saw him, because I saw that 9-point, because he's a 4 on this side, makes him a 9-point. And that's what I said. I was like, oh, I said, that's a new guy on the block.
Yeah.
You know, not a buck we had any history with right off.
Right.
So, but yeah, another nice, I don't know. I don't know if I'm assuming he's probably
well, and then that's back to that.
Where it leaves the head.
Of his head. It lays back, gives that back curve, and gives that width on.
Yeah. But he was running with the 7-point. He showed up and started running with the 7. So body wise, they're pretty comparable. So he might be a 3-year-old too. It's tough to say. I put it side by side with. I don't know. He doesn't have that much mass with him.
Small pedicle.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that old yet.
Yeah, but it's tough to say. Again, no history with him or something like that. That's what's tough to track with him sometimes. But that's the shed so far. I mean, we still got a fair amount holding, so we haven't really been hitting it hard, other than a couple of the spots we got to get after early with it. So that's kind of where we've been. And we'll get doing some more shed hunting here in the next week or 10 days as more are dropping, because they're dropping by the day. I mean, that one, he was literally holding only like 5 days ago on camera.
Right.
You know, we weren't expecting to find his. I was kind of looking for Dono, because that's where I found Dono's side was in there last year, and I'm pretty sure he shed out, because you kind of seen what bucks they hang with, and when they show up with the bucks, and you look at everybody else is naked, and they're like, oh, I remember that deer hang with that group.
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of where you judge it, but still, they're all individuals. It's tough to say, but we'll see.
We're stacked pretty thick too. You said you got probably in excess of $20 on the property.
This, ever since seasons ended. I mean, some of them have come and gone, obviously, but
but you know, if you got that many animals going through, even if they're just going through, chances of leaving a bone behind is there, especially if they're stacking in the food plot.
Yeah, and we'll probably do. You know, I'll call up a couple of the guys that come out usually every year and do a couple passes with us. You know, they'll come out, and I'm sure we'll put a few on in the backpacks and stuff like that. You know, but some of the sections are, you know, a couple of guys ask what section we're walking, because they know which ones are pain right in the butt to walk.
Then they also know which ones have his horn on them.
And they also know which ones, you know, where we historically find them too. So that's also something that a lot of folks ask. But but big thing is ticks. Nate picked either 1 or 2 off of them. Owen didn't have any, and I didn't have any on me after the walk yesterday. So, but that's another thing. Make sure you're doing your tick checks, especially with this warmer weather. They're out with a full head of steam on them. So, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at this year. Had a successful year. I mean, you know, Curly's up here on the bar. He's the new kind of bar buck. You know, you had some encounters with the buck that I missed on a different piece of property over at Grandma's. Didn't get a chance to trigger him.
No.
Yeah, just didn't give it a shot.
Well, it's too much daylight between the bottom of him and the back of him. I just couldn't shoot over the ridge. It just didn't work out good for me. But
But you passed a couple other nice bucks.
Yeah, no, and he pissed me off enough going back across that ridge with that doe, but I guess it was all right.
Yep.
And then that one that had all the horns cleaned off, I could have shot him 3 days of Sunday, but
yeah, he was pretty busted up.
Yeah, he was all busted up. He only had one tine out of the 8.
That's all he finished with was that. He was a 9 frame, I think.
Was he a 9?
Yeah, well, he's about the same size as that, maybe a little bit better.
You couldn't have told it that he had 1 point.
Yeah, well, was beams and
that was it.
Brows gone, everything gone.
It was clipped off, sawzalled right off.
Yeah. So, So yeah, I guess we'll dive right into the thing. We'll start we'll put it right up on the screen for you guys so you guys can check it out, and feel free to drop in your comments and your questions as we go through this, because we want to, help you guys too, answer and help you come up with your, better answer your questions, really.
A lot of these things overlap per se. You'll be talking about one part of the thing on the board, and it'll have something that goes along with the preparation or maintenance or whatever. So we may jump around a little bit, but try to stay with us. We'll keep it as single as we can as far as different stuff we're doing. But some of the stuff, like I said, it overlaps a little bit.
Yeah, so we kind of broke it up into our, kind of as we talk about it, the maintenance stuff is kind of the annual, just about, gets done every year or every couple years maybe, depending on what it is.
Yeah, what is on the maintenance schedule.
Yeah.
Certain things like trail maintenance, main trail maintenance and stuff like that. And of course, this year with a lot of wind that we had,
Ash trees dying.
And the ash trees dying, we've had a lot of blowdown. I don't want to call it damage, but you still got to clean it up and make it so you can still access your property for obvious reasons. Stuff coming up here in the spring, you're going to have to get onto it and get where you want to get on it. So trails are always a big thing.
Yeah,
that is what it is.
As for any, I guess maintenance wise for trails, nothing really major. I guess renovations for the trail system as it sits right now. Just the general maintenance, trim them back, knock them back, pushing out, encroaching like honeysuckle, buckthorns, that kind of stuff. You got a new toy to play with to push some edges back a little bit now. So, but yeah, so I guess that's kind of our general maintenance for the trails every year. Mowing them, usually mowing maybe once or twice, depending on the year, usually.
And it does, I kind of do them in a rotation a little bit too. Meaning the trail is mowed like in two different stages. Every other year I'll mow them way back. And I call that a maintenance mow. And then the year in between, I'll only just courtesy mow. You get one path or two down the middle, so it's accessible, but it gives that edge on that laneway, trail, whatever, gives extra, fresh new growth, that little feathery edge that the deer, especially like it. And as far as that goes, it just makes it more settling to them. And it, as opposed to have something that's 30 foot wide, goes down through there and it's just chopped right down.
Right. And a lot of our trails have dog legs set up in them.
Most everything does. And that's for two reasons. That's for not sneaking an issue, but it gets sliding in without getting caught. You can get part way and do the little dog leg look there and say, well, shoot, we can't go down there. We got to watch or whatever. And same thing with setting up with turkeys and so on. It's was done on purpose. On purpose.
Yeah. Other than that, the one thing I was going to ask you, because it just, again, popped into my head, like we say it does, after we sat down and drew the board up, actually Hannah drew the board for us. I was thinking about, do we want to do seeding back clover into some of the trails coming up, get them knocked back, throw a little clover back to them like we did years prior? Depends on the trails, I guess. Some are.
Well, no, it's going to depend on the planting season, because we got a couple of extensions in the food plots that we want to further develop, and we're looking real heavily this year onto row crop, corn, beans, etc. So there's going to be a lot more equipment prep. I don't know how much time we're going to have to do monkeying around on food plots
for the trails and stuff like that.
And we have a fair amount of food plots, and I'm not really a real big fan of putting a lot of food on the trail, because unfortunately I have to use them trails more than these guys do to get where I got to get to hunt. And if they're having a snack and I'm gonna walk in on them, I'm gonna mess things up.
So that's what I was saying. Stuff that's not as readily foot traffic.
And like I said, I don't feel it's as essential as it was maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago when we didn't have as many food plots. And that also makes it maybe more essential to somebody else in a little different position to plant those and take your lump, so to speak, on having a deer getting bumped once in a while. You just got to be really unevasive. You don't spook the heck out of them and run them out of the county.
Yeah.
But it goes back to the first year that a buddy of mine came and hunted our property, and he bitched like hell. He says, "You can't see nothing. You don't do this and don't do that." I said, wait a minute, Joe." I says, "They got stuff to fill their belly. They can stand up, get a drink, fill their belly, and lay back down." I said, "They don't go nowhere." I said, "They're here. All you got to do is be able to harvest one or two of them or whatever."
Right.
I said, on the neighbors, somebody else is going to shoot them.
Yeah.
And about the second, third year into it, he realized that, oh yeah, they don't go nowhere. You got way more opportunity to harvest.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of the low impact that we've played, because the deer driving and the pressure don't work anymore because nobody bumps them back yet.
Right.
So you got to hunt them like you used to bow hunt, or like you'd still bow hunt, so to speak.
Right. Funny you say bow hunt. Bow hunt's one of our kind of frequent commenters, viewers of the show, always tuning in. He comments with a question, which leads right into, I guess, another topic that we were going to discuss tonight. Are you guys trying to screen your tower stands? Like put screening in front of them? We use some sorghum grass. Depends on the towers.
We don't brush them in. A couple of them are set specifically tucked into the edge of the power line. They're not even out in the power line; they're into the edge of it. So they're kind of a part of the
put into design,
the feathered edge, so to speak.
Yeah.
But we also have a couple that are more in the power line itself, but they're also by an old apple tree.
Yeah, they're tucked into
so
other stuff.
It breaks it up a little bit, but after it's been there 2-3 years or whatever, when the fawn's born, about the second thing it sees when it looks up is that tower stand. If ain't nobody poking a gun out shooting at him, he's going to get used to it to a certain extent. Right. That don't mean you're going to shoot a 200 incher in front of it, or you may. But the fact of the matter is, it's something it's not that big a deal. I don't feel.
Yeah. And this is where, again, you're going to see a little bit of us back and forth with it. I think it's something that I like to try to do. It's just tough to get in there and plant, timing wise with everything else. I mean, it's a big task to maintain 200 acres on a yearly basis. It's
even as low impact as we do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think screening when all possible for your towers, especially to get you that in and out.
In and out. That's another deal.
Yeah.
That's completely different question.
Yeah. Yeah. So screening in and out, I think, is more important than the tower.
But
again, most of ours are tucked into cover and been designed like that.
Case in point, First Trail power line tower stand, you got to cut into the brush, literally, specifically made trail so you can slink into the backside of it, so you can literally get in and out of that tower stand when there's deer 10-15 yards in front of you.
Yeah.
If you're sneaky snake.
Yeah. You can get right down.
You can slip right out the back door and down the trail 25-30 yards, and he don't even know you were there unless you screw up.
Yep. And when we cleared out,
built that like that.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Pushed the edge up there and made it all blocked up there.
Yep.
So we did add some screening with it, but most of our stuff, because of how we've set them up, we don't need to add additional screening.
And a lot of the way we set them up, we try to keep the shots around 100 yards as far as gun shooting and stuff, as makes everything harvestable. It's like, goddamn, I wish other than shooting down the power line, and that is what that is. But if you can keep it well within your comfort zone, your success ratio goes up considerably.
Bring them into that sweet spot. Other than that, maintenance wise, stands.
You guys usually check on them in the fall before hunt.
Yeah, late summer.
Yeah. It's just a matter of checking the strap, making sure something ain't broke, froze or split or whatever in the winter.
Yeah. The only other thing I do is I usually in the summertime when I'm or late spring when I'm out turkey hunting, I usually jump up in them quick and loosen the straps on them so we don't pop straps.
Yeah.
That's another thing we do for the maintenance side of it.
Yeah.
Usually that's when I'm out.
And that's
running and gunning for turkeys.
Easier,
and stuff like
easier
that.
on the trees too. Yeah. You don't have that.
Don't girdle them down.
That doesn't raise all their growth.
Yeah, and then we can usually tell because usually I try to rotate the colors of straps, so then that these ones were got 4 or 5 years ago. These ones were last year's straps.
Yeah.
To try to keep a better eye on them. Check for frays. Check for all that stuff when we're doing stands. And sometimes it's a year where you replace you need 15, 20 straps, and other years, and that's including the stabilizer bars. But other years, it's, you know, maybe 1 or 2. Just kind of depends on where it's at with the rotation.
I was just gonna say
if it's getting sunlight to bleach it out and weaken it. I mean, there's a lot of
there's
factors.
some that go 3-4 years, and then there's some that go considerably longer.
Yep.
And part of that may be the quality of the strap and whatever it's made
How
out
much
of,
trees growing,
and the sun and what kind of tree it's in, et cetera, et cetera. But it's all stuff that should be addressed so you don't have a catastrophe come hunting season.
And then we just check when we're in there trimming stands out. Check to make sure all the trails are in and around those stands and ambush spots are open. You know, the trails we want them to be on.
Yeah.
If we need to block a new trail that they've kind of used, you know, we kind of speed scout it and drop those accordingly. Trim shooting lanes up for stuff that grows in, because it always does, just like the trails.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of our maintenance side with the stands. But project wise with the stands, if you want to pan over on that, I'll hide his
that
comment
kind
so you
of
can see it.
Overlaps into the tower stands per se. And we got a couple of them. We got to change the ladders because they're not quite right, not as stable as I'd like to see them. Back to the trimming, et cetera, et cetera. There are a couple of them this year. We got to really think about addressing the cables or wires that hold them down. We had one, what was it, last year, tipped over?
Yeah, we were using wires, and now we've gone to cables.
Yeah. So I think we still got 2 of them. The one that's up above the pond, and the one that's in the little hardwoods. Both of those are on wire, I think.
Yeah, those are still wired. Those need to get changed to, you know, braided coated cable.
Yeah, we didn't have no problems. It's just that the wire rotted off, and
it was right in the wind tunnel. Power line.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a wind tunnel, man.
Well, I know it is, but the fact of the matter is, if there's nothing holding it down, it's going to tip over.
Yep.
You know, it's 15 foot off the ground or whatever it is.
It's a big kite.
Yeah, it's plastic, so it's going to blow it right over.
Yeah. But
we got those ladders that took up on those. We have one of those stands that never got a platform put under it, so it's on a skid now. I was entertaining the thought of taking and assembling that with one set of the sections, so it's only 6 foot, 7 foot, whatever that section is, and mounting on that yellow utility trailer we got, so we could move it or put it someplace else, like we run it over to Maz under that willow, drag it up underneath that, and leave it,
plug it there,
or leave it someplace that we want to think about putting a tower stand and said give it a little little shakedown. And if it works, it works. If it don't, then we don't have a lot of time into it.
Right.
But that's one that's sitting there and it's not doing anything for us per se.
Yeah.
You could turkey hunt out of it at the top field, but that's
right.
That is what it is.
Right.
But that's kind of what I had in my head as far as the one stand that's sitting idle, and then we obviously got a maintenance on those ladders, make those a little bit more.
Yeah, we got to shore them up.
Steady.
Well, we bought an extra tower kit for a blind or a ladder. That's what it was, the ladder extension kit from that one that we bought secondhand, and that's what the one was.
Yeah,
that's the one issue with that one.
Yeah, and the way that we got them bolted up, they're different compared to the one that we had bought for, because that fits different, whatever. Yep. But that makes that
different design.
Yeah, and we just got to change it a little bit so that it ties it more together, so it's
not as so limpy,
not so weeble wobble. Because the handrail, especially, that's like it's bad.
Yeah.
Coming out of it in the dark at night, trying to dodge the door, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
But I guess all in all, I mean, we have the 2 different types. We also have a soft-sided, those buck huts. We have 2 of those that we got to find homes for this year. Didn't know if one of them's going to grandma's, one of them's going to the farm. We can flesh that out too a little bit. Just kind of ping-ponging ideas. I wouldn't mind putting something on the west side power line or over by Greg's. For one of them.
Well, we got the one just the playhouse that never got finished too, that we could stick either one of the places. And one of them places might be a candidate for that Trojan horse, so to speak, mobile one that you put it there
run it.
Put it there for a little bit, and they don't see a goddamn thing out of it. Then that's the end of that one.
That's true.
Because
that's true.
You don't want to waste your resources per se. You're not wasting them, but you're putting the time in.
Yep.
Could have been doing
because it takes a couple hours to get those up with a few guys, and it makes
that's even if you come with most of the stuff assembled. It's just
and you got enough hands for it. I remember when we put put the one up out on turnaround. Jake was there, Nate was there helping. We had the 584 to stand it up, and we, you know, kind of used that as the tension strap and kind of guided it up the rest of the way so it didn't go too far and flip over back toward us. But the rest of them, we put those up with the tractor with the, you know, stuff like that. So they go up pretty good. Joe helped us with the one in the hardwoods. And
the two other ones on the wood towers, Greg set them with a forklift before we had something to do that with.
Before we had the tractors going and stuff like that, with getting them up. And then, like I said, the one top field never had a platform put under it right off. So, but yeah, but I guess, and there's different drawbacks, positives and negatives from, you know, each of those blinds. I like certain things about each one of them, and I dislike certain things about each one of them. Just kind of depends on, you know, where you're looking at it.
Well, and that ain't even a Ford Chevy thing. That's a matter of that window's not worth the shit for bow hunting, or that's where it works real good for rifle hunting because you can bench off or whatever. You know, a couple of them variations of it. The one in particular across the road and the mate to it down there on the other part. It's real nice to shoot out the window and stuff with a rifle. Not so good with the bow. Crossbow works all right, but it's horizontal window, so you know, vertical,
and
horizontal.
even the vertical windows, they say they're bow windows. It's not. I mean, they got to read the script like to a T, you know, to where they got to be where you can get a draw on them, you know, all the above, and they're still getting danger close to a wide open window. Yeah,
well, and that's the thing with the vertical windows too. That fishbowl is what I call it. There's too much light showing through it, and you get silhouetted as opposed to that little.
Yeah, it's only usually with those bow windows, you know, usually we don't have the windows open until prime time, or we start getting deer out on the field usually.
Right.
Just because of, you know, backlit,
scent control and backlit and all the above. But all the windows aren't tinted either.
Some are,
some are and some aren't. The ones that aren't, you know, you get caught like a rat.
Yeah, you can. And we've done, you know, variations of blocking up some of the windows so you're just kind of looking out the top of it, because you don't need to see out the bottom of it, but they can sure as heck catch your movement of your torso and your hands and that stuff in it. So again, it's stuff we've had to play with, and you know, just little tidbits and snippets with that. But
tower stands, that's basically what we got slated in to do, and that doesn't have to be done like now. Obviously, that's something that's
summertime
projected.
Or whatever too,
summertime.
When we check for the bee's nest and that kind of stuff.
Oh, well, that's a little bit later, but that's about the time you guys go around and check the ladder stands and stuff.
Yeah, usually
make sure you don't have any inhabitants or whatever, kick the mice out and whatever else you got going on with that. But you know, but I guess as far as projects, the one that I really want to do something with because of the exposure for the turkey and the improvement for the habitat for the turkey is a skidder road up there that
on the one ridge,
and that basically, AKA Skidder Road, that's where we had some of the ash come out when we had the ash cut before it tipped over. And the turkey sea picked up onto it a little bit, used it for strutting and so on. Transverse trail between.
Yeah, they were up there on the camera the other day.
Yeah, transverse trail between the one big piece of woods and crosses the power line and then goes
into the
other piece of woods. They seem to use it for a travel corridor. And like I said, I hear Tom
strut zone up on the ridge.
I heard Tom over there last year. He was up there on the one end of it a little bit where I could hear him. But I want to improve that so not only it's more inviting to them, but it's also maybe put a little bit of wheat or oats down there when I go to clean it up this year, get a little bit of extra something there for them.
And I think it's got plenty of daylight because, you know, what's the ash project? That's going on 5 years ago. That was pre-COVID, so. It's a little woolly. I was up there, drove down the road, you know, when I was pulling cameras the other day, and it's pretty woolly, but it's got a lot of daylight showing to it now because a lot of ash came off that.
Well, and the majority of it's right along the last row of apple trees too. So you're kind of at the edge of the woods, on the edge again, back where things are in transition, as opposed to
orchard to timber.
Yeah, orchard to timber, just like you said. It just happens to be a logging road down through there. You know, and we never did develop it per se, just what the skidder did, you know, push stuff out, made it woolly or
opened it up a bit.
But I think now the stuff is rotted off a little bit. We get up in there with the loader on the tractor and maybe the York rake scratching
There's a
down onto
few,
it
and there's
little
a
bit.
few extra apple trees I think along that edge that, once they, finally got, cleared out around them, you can see what's dying out now and what's not going to make. So there's some of them that can go, and once they're to that point where they look pretty dead, they push over and out pretty easy with the bucket.
Or they split.
Or they split off or chip off.
Then you got to clean them up, push them up next year.
Yeah. But yeah, that Skid Road project, I don't think that would take too awful long.
No, I got to get a.
Just get a ride over there, get eyes on a little bit.
I got to get I know what I want to do with it. I've looked at it a couple times with that light, but I got to get a heavy duty edge for my bucket so I don't bend it up. I'm gonna use it like a bulldozer. I got to make it as close to a bulldozer as I can. But
yeah, so you don't end up with a big ding in it like mine.
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah, that's okay. I knew where you were going with it.
I didn't know. I didn't have to go that way. You knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's what Hannah was the first one that noticed that. She's like, "Oh, we got dinged your brand new bucket." I said, "Yeah, I was pushing over ash trees with it and a client piece, doing something I probably shouldn't have been doing with it." But put a ding in a bucket. Yeah.
Well, I had to have the backhoe fixed because I, pushing off something that caught a little stub in it. It put a ding in the bucket.
Yeah.
And they're not easy to fix because you got to cut them and seam them, weld them back up, and try to straighten them. It's not like you can't pound it out. Once that's stretched, that they ain't no pounding it out.
No.
So the Skidder Road is, I don't know if it sets precedence, but that's something I'd really like to get done next 3 weeks.
That, and if we have disturbed soil up there, them turkeys, they're going to be in it and checking it out. Deer too.
Well, even if it's disturbed soil down into May, they're going to be dust in it because it'll be dry by then.
Yeah.
And what I was thinking, I'll get up there with the loader, and I don't know if I'm going to put the York rake on the back of it so I can scratch the stuff up and then push it off with the bucket, or if I'll just overdo that and then take the disc up there and lightly disc her up and then throw some stuff to it. I don't know. I might do it in that steps. I don't know yet. We'll see how it works up, but I think once I get up there and start running around on that with that bucket, I think it'll
clean up. I think it'll clean up pretty good. And that kind of, when you said dusting, that kind of popped me into the other maintenance side of it. We found a little sandy pocket spot in the one field, and they started using it like crazy down there in Greg's, that little sand pocket. So maintenance on a couple of those spots, making sure it's cleared up around them so they feel comfortable dusting on it. Maybe we talked about even transplanting some of that into other field corners and spots like that for them to give them, dust bowls and, low spots. That's something that popped in my head. Again, this is how it goes when we're talking about this stuff. Pops into the head and it starts meshing together.
You're intertwined and you're doing one thing, then that affects something else negatively or positively. And you got to look at it that angle too. The negative, you cut this or make this like this. That might not be.
How's that going to change?
Might not be what you want to do.
Right. Did have a comment come in. I just wanted to pop on it quick, kind of while we're between topics with projects and maintenance. Gerald comments in, says, "How do you guys handle your doe management?" Depends on the year. But usually our rule is we try to knock down our doe groups. Minimize the size of the groups.
Okay, before you get into knock down on doe groups, you got to explain that a majority of the doe groups that we have on the farm are family groups that are either resident or sub-resident, meaning they use our property and the neighbors, or they use ours exclusively, and we keep track of them as a family group quite heavily. So it's just not willy-nilly, although late season, and we get those interlopers that come from wherever, you get 20 deer coming in the field, and
high quality food becomes less available and everything.
Pressure,
adjacent.
But, it's like you were saying, we usually do a 4 or 5 rule. If they come in 4 or 5 strong, and you're keeping track of the family group, then one of the middle ones or the barren doe has got to go. It's not really, I don't feel, taking the biggest doe necessarily, because that sometimes disrupts that family group and it fractions it. And the same thing as opposed to shooting 3 out of the 5 or 4 out of the 6 or whatever. That family group is not only decimated, it's fragmented, and that may change where they live, so it's going to make it tougher on you as far as your management. We manage it as far as family groups, and it's hard, but because of the amount of cameras you run and the stricter you look at the bucks, case in point, they goddamn got names on it.
Well, that's what Nate said. He's like, we pick up this random shed. He said within 30 seconds, you swipe through your phone and go, that deer? And I'm like, I said, well, I was just talking about him the other day, but
yeah. Well, it's like the one I shot with the bow, and you asked me what would it look like, is this and that and this and that, and I shot it because I thought this or I thought that. Well, it's like, okay, well, that's halfway, and remember that's the one that had the broken horn, and remember this and that. It's like, yeah, I do. You're right. So, but that's an art in itself.
Yeah.
Looking at something, and ain't no different than the carpenter. Good carpenter, he can look at something that's crooked as hell, or he can look at that board and that board ain't gonna fit. That's too short.
Yeah.
If you got the eye for whatever you're doing, you're gonna be able to do it.
Well, I mean, it's no exaggeration when like I say it or Dad says it. I'm looking through thousands of pictures of card pull. Like it's
not per season.
Yeah.
Per card pull.
Yeah.
Per camera.
In some
not
cases,
total pictures per camera.
Yeah.
And then what are you running? 15, 20 of them right now, roughly, give or take, or you
pull most are out of the woods.
Well, it's your changeover time.
First, like everything's going right. All the cameras are running. I'm usually running between 40 to 50.
Yeah. Okay.
Between all the properties, but 40 to 50 cameras.
Right.
I got 10 over here, 15 over here, 30 at the farm, whatever. You know.
So it's not like you got one down here and one over here, and another piece of property got one too.
And a lot of them are spots that have been historic spots for us that we've also eliminated spots in the past because they're not as productive. They don't give us as good
or have changed,
or stuff's changed.
Because we have had primary scrapes for whatever reason. They don't use it.
And some of them, if you take that main licking branch out, it's amazing
how
much that just
sometimes
kills it.
That too.
The South Border spot's a great example of that.
Well,
at the end of Second Trail.
I was just going to say Second Trail and 2 apple trees there. They don't use them no more.
Nope.
Before you get to the end.
Nope.
For no apparent reason. And that used to be pictures, scrape, year-round scrape.
Every year.
Year-round scrape. Yeah. But whatever happened.
Yeah. That big one on the South Border that always used to be there.
Nope. It's all there still, but they're not using it.
Mm-hmm. And again, we've added food in different spots. That might have changed some bedding proximities and stuff. But
I think
it's habit. I think it's habits of neighbors. Put it that way.
I was just going to say it's what's changed in the neighborhood, and that's back to
habits of neighbors and the way that they utilize the property and stuff like that. I think that's a big piece of why that's changed down there. But,
and then that can be affected. Habits of neighbors can affect the prey predator circle thing too. So they're getting more pressure from, say, coyotes in that particular area because the coyote's trying to stay away from the dooryard, or he's trying to hit the dooryard, maybe catch a chicken that's out tonight, or whatever. So that changes it too, and something that you don't have any control over unless you're trying to take them out of the picture. But then that's that's a completely different deal.
Right. And again, we're talking when that was primary, that was over 10 years ago. The last 7 of this last 17 years, it's really tapered off. The first 10 we had the farm, that was one of the best spots.
Oh yeah, tapered off. Nothing.
It's gone. There ain't no scrapes there. No, and there's branches, but they're
nothing.
They get hit once in a while, but not like those big wagon wheel.
Night after night, even when we were running them cheap old cameras, it was
pop, 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 pop all the time on that spot.
Yeah, but not no more.
Yeah.
So the skidder road, we gotta improve that because the turkeys need much help as they can get.
Yeah. But the doe management thing, it's usually 5 or more. And then usually last week of October till like the 2nd or 3rd week of November, typically we're not shooting one, just because it's getting into prime, seeking time and stuff.
Buck bait.
A little bit of that. And then unless we've already shot a buck and then we do, take a doe or whatever.
Depends on the schedule.
Yeah.
But then again, later in the season, we get those on the interlopers, I call them. They're ones that come from 2-3 farms over because we got good groceries, or there's nobody chasing the hell out of them, or
we got, we can look at camera and tell them we got 15 does on this field like every night. Call up a buddy or a guest and say, hey, would you like one for the freezer? You want to come out shoot one?
Yeah. Because they're cashing in on their groceries and they're not living there.
Funny you say that. As I say that, Nate comments and says, Liza says Brian's voice is pleasant to listen to.
You're goddamn right.
Liza got a chance. She shot a nice doe out there.
Yeah.
She was like I said. That's what.
Yeah.
It's funny. It kind of led right into that comment with it, but yeah, she was able to come out. Nate's been out a couple times.
We've had a couple youth hunts.
Youth hunters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Phil came out 2 years ago now. He shot one.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe's ever triggered a doe out there. Matt has.
Well, yeah. Joe got in trouble with the bull one year, shot that button buck, if you remember.
Yep.
So he got to join the button buck club.
Yep.
Which basically entails it's a $50 bill out of your pocket. Thank you very much to the landowner per se, and you get on the list.
Yep.
And anybody that's been, whatever you want to call it, put on the list or put in the till, they usually show up with new binoculars, new weapon, different idea of how they ought to be doing it.
Mostly glass. Glass is the big thing.
Yeah, because it's like we tried to get them to do. Look at them, evaluate it. Why is it here by itself? Et cetera, et cetera. But
and that usually helps. That usually helps with the doe management side of it. When you have bigger groups, you can look at different sizes. You can look at not necessarily size, but body configuration. Mature deer look different than immature deer.
They do.
Even if they are a bigger button buck. Because sometimes button buck can be as big as mom.
And I was just going to say, it's not necessarily stature; it's just how they're built.
Yeah, the proportions.
Yeah, no, it's how they're built. You can tell that's a mature animal. Yep. Same thing with bucks.
Yep.
And when they're younger, even if they got a good set of horn,
lanky.
Yeah, they don't look their age, so to speak.
Yeah. And again, there's other ones that they got good rack on their heads or not as good a rack on their heads, and they're built like a shit brick house, and they're
we have two. I guess the only way to describe it is two body styles on our farm as far as the deer herd in general. We got some that are quite long and a little bit lanky, and then we got some that are short, wide, thick, and deep, and they're built like a Hereford cow.
Yeah. Especially that one doe group. That's one that really clicks into my head. They're built.
Yeah, they're
thick.
They're different. And you don't even have to have them together. And for whatever reason, they don't necessarily associate a lot because of the family group thing, I'm assuming. But the fact of the matter is, you can see this like, oh yeah, that's one of those quarter horse.
Well, like Curly, he was stocky, but he just leaned out. He rutted down. Yeah. But then you look at, I remember Outlaw specifically, the one that I shot, and then Keith and his stepson came out.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben came out and helped us pull him out. And that's what they were mentioning, how long he was.
Well, double wide was long too.
And double wide was a really long buck, and he was 5 years old, not really rutted out, but he was always a longer, lankier.
His
just
body
that's his build.
He had a real long back on him.
Yeah,
wasn't real thick and through the shoulders and stuff, but he was long.
Yeah. Nate said that Liza says your voice is soft on the ears.
It's done me well.
I guess so.
You ain't got to guess, man. I'm telling you.
I hear you. So going back to the list, got trail stands. We got trees and tubes on the maintenance side of the list. Almost out of a pruning window for trees. Not a whole lot needs to get really pruned up, though.
No, but we got an issue with the tubes, and I don't know if that's why we lost some of our oak or chestnuts or not. But they seem to have outgrown their tube, and it's restricted them. I don't know. Like I said, if that killed them, we got missed them or what?
They kind of self-girdled on the tubes.
Oh yeah. Well, it's one of them things you don't think about. As far as maintenance and stuff, you plant it, and the only thing you go by it in the summertime and say, man, that's look at there's got chestnuts on it, and then that's the last time you think about it because the chestnuts ain't there when the squirrel comes around. He's got them ate off of it, but then the next time you realize the tree's about choked in two with the tube, middle of summer or middle of winter rather, you don't think about it, and then it's off your mind.
Yeah, especially those chestnuts; those have really taken off. comparatively, I mean, obviously there's
A
bunch of fruit-
couple of those oaks too.
a couple of the
Ronald
oaks
Greg's
are,
and stuff are the
yeah.
same way.
yeah, the oaks, and the other ones I was going to say is the trees down in the little orchard on the west side food plot. Those have come a long way too, especially those plums. They love they love that little valley down in there.
Yeah. And even the ones that got broke with the coons and stuff with heavy hanging plums onto them. But yeah, no,
But yeah.
that's a
Yeah, we got to take a ride, and that's where, you know, we'll get into that with obviously like kind of like I labeled this as the part 1 episode. We kind of figured on there being a part 2.
Well, it got to be too fat.
Yeah, got to be. Well, there's too much stuff going on for.
And
Got to break the cork off.
well, the top came off the son of a bitch. I hope
That's what came unglued.
I hope you got another one put back in there.
I got a whole pile of corks.
We ain't putting that stupid one back in.
No, that's the first. I've never had a Knob Creek cork pop on me. Yeah, it came unglued. Yeah.
But no, it's an issue with the trees because if you can get them established like that and making chestnuts, making chestnuts,
they're to that maturity level, and
right, and then like you said, they were growing good.
Yeah,
they're growing real good. Yeah. Which brings me back around, same thing, only different. With something like that, so I don't tip it over and make a mess.
Yeah,
because I'm good for that. Those persimmons that we got that are, that one no fat. Those persimmons that we got there, are down and back there, have a bunch of, I don't know if they're root suckers or if they're self-seeded or what the hell they are, but underneath that persimmon tree.
Oh, the 10 cup persimmon?
Oh, geez, the cripe, it's like it's just like solid little ones. I don't know if they're off the roots or not, but it doesn't look like it because some of them are out past the canopy.
Oh, I was talking to Ryan about that. He thinks that they are off of seed drop. Because he said usually like coons and stuff like that eat them and drop them, and they go through that acidosis or whatever you want to call it through the stomach, so it breaks down that seed coating and allows them to germinate.
Well, having said that, the deer like to chew the shit out of them.
Oh, they browse them.
Oh, they browse them hard. They really hit them hard from what I was looking at. I'm gonna take some snow fence and some T-posts to fence the bastards off.
Yep.
And I might even take a shovel down there and scoop out one or two of them, see if they are off of
bottom up.
I want to see if they're off of a root stringer, or if they're their own little tree.
Yep.
Because if they're their own little tree, man, I'm made in the shade. Unless being hybrid.
It's a grafted varietal.
Not a grafted, a hybrid, meaning genetically hybrid, whatever, etc., because of its tendency to self-pollinate.
Yeah.
Whether it will produce offspring via the seeds, if that's what seeded it, or root cutting that will produce seeds down the road.
Right.
Case in point, a lot of times if you get seeds out of like a watermelon hybrid and so on, you can plant them, but they ain't gonna grow.
Right.
So it don't matter. It don't matter. Right. So we'll have to. The only problem with that is you're going to take a while before you find out if they're going to produce.
Yeah, you're going to be looking at them,
but if you
probably 8, 10, 15 years or whatever.
Well,
depends.
Some of them will sit there 3-4 foot tall.
Yeah, true.
So if they're an individual tree and you got a big enough ball and transplant them and nurse them up real good, because that grafted one I had in the yard, that didn't make it.
No. I don't know if the one down below there's 2. I think 2 of them we put in down the bottom of First Trail too, where we did that little extension work. I haven't been over there to check.
I haven't either, but the one on the end, end of that,
which leads into a good little topic on the project side. As we're talking about trees, going into the plot expansions, the stuff we gotta, play around with, for projects for the food plot expansion, where we want to kind of save that into next episode.
As far as working on the food plots?
Yeah. Do we want to tie that into like the part 2 food plot episode, the expansion part of the projects?
Well,
it's not really, that's kind of a little cliff note one. That's not
all right. Well, we do it this way. We're working on the project side. We already knocked off
Skid Road, towers.
We'll talk about the culvert project. That's pretty self-explanatory, and that's a long-term project. Doesn't have to be done project, but it's something that would be beneficial to doing other food plots and back and forth as far as,
Well,
you know.
transversing the property between plots and for
Well,
deer
that's what I'm
travel
saying. Yeah.
efficiency, so you don't got to go way up around all the wet and the
But it's
ditches
going to be a project because that dirt.
a mini X or a whatever.
There'll be some hand digging, even with the bucket tractor. You're going to have to bring some material there to fill
Well, that's
that
what
in.
I was thinking. Either that or get a mini X in there for a weekend project and scoop that ditch a little bit too and clean that up a bit.
Yeah, but that's like everything else, man. Once you start digging here, you got to dig it all the way to the end.
I know.
You know, otherwise it's just going to be a little strip pond.
I know.
So that's not.
I know.
You know, but that's something that if we could do it and see how the lay is, take a piece of culvert down there in the level and see what the hell it's going to do. Just throw it in there, a little short one, get an idea of which way it runs. I'm almost
that actually
sure.
runs south.
That's what I said. But that's right there where that break is, where that
could go either way.
Yeah, it goes north south there.
The property kind of almost humps in the middle, but not really humps as it goes between the drumlins going. The drumlins roll east to west, and then the water runs in between. But then the water runs north and south because of the natural pitch in the drumlins themselves. If that makes sense, if you can follow what I'm saying.
Well, you're right, but it affects it as the subsoil contour.
That too.
Well, that's not that too. That's what it does. It affects it. The subsoil contour either goes north or it goes south or it goes all north or whatever.
Yeah.
Case in point, not to shoot that as far as the drumlins in the valleys and so on. What do you think about Topfield having those wet strips into it?
It's got a pocket of clay.
Some of the highest part of the ground.
Got a pocket of clay or spring aquifer or something there.
Something up there on that high spot. So it just doesn't mean because it's a low spot, it's going to be that way.
And that's why we've got away from row cropping that up there. Because if you get in there in the right season with tillage, you can sink a tractor. We found some big ruts in that field.
Well, I think that some of them originated from when they were running the sour cherries and the stone crop up there, and even they were running that bulldozer up there on that. And when that tears stuff up, that tears
packs into clay hard, and
and it digs a freaking rut. It's just not a.
It's tough to fold it back.
Not a tire. Ain't no folding it back.
And there's a couple ruts that still go between Topfield and we call the dump. A little food.
There's
a couple ruts right there. And there's the two seasonal ponds up in there.
I was gonna say you go up another 30 yards past the tire pile, and there's a vernal pond there.
Yep.
And that's one of the highest parts of the property too.
And actually now the little wet hole that's got the clump maple stand in and next to the dump there, that's almost got water in it year round now. That almost doesn't dry up. Not the one that's in the woods, but the other little little low spot.
Right. That was dug out for some reason. I don't know if they
probably to try to dry that field up.
It may have been. I don't know.
Oh.
I have to ask Greg one of these days. There's a bunch of stuff I could ask him.
Well, when we were asking about why it was so sandy, I guess they put a retention tank up there for the migrant shacks for the shit water. So we're just like, we don't know why it's so sandy here. Greg's like, oh, that's because we had a retention tank up there that we put in it.
Yeah.
So it could leach.
Okay.
All right. Guess we should have asked a long time ago. But and then the culvert project ties into kind of a long-term project idea Dad's about putting a pond down through there south of the power line. You know, ties into that ditch specifically.
Two of them, because that's a pretty good distance between that and when it makes the bend to go
to the
east, the deep ditch. I'd really like to put one close to that bend and one real close to the power line. Boom, boom.
And
that's going to do two things. That's going to make 2 or 3, depends on how far apart we make them, artificial squeeze points for that east to west.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's stuff that's going to benefit us down the road. I'm a big fan on as much wildlife on the property as possible. Fly, fish, whatever. I don't care. There's some stuff I don't really like around, but we won't get into that. But that is what it is. But it's like I had a big, not real happy, but a big mink went down along the ditch the other day. I ain't seen one of them in a while. We had a fisher down there a while back.
We had fishers down there, and
so we got wildlife. There ain't no doubt about that. But the fact is, I like to see it all and make a home for it all.
Yeah.
So the project, and that's been a long term. What do you think about a pond? I can't remember how many years we talked about that, but that's going to be one of them things we're going to have the right piece in the puzzle.
Budget wise, I mean,
budget wise, or see if we can talk somebody and letting us use their excavator for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because that's all it would take.
Yeah.
You know, get it mapped out so we don't wreck nothing.
Yeah. And it's been thrown out there. I remember when we had a little bit of excavator work done a few years ago, and we did those expansions. After John got done, he said, if you ever need more excavator work, he'd trade excavator work for a little bit of hunt permission. I know that's,
I'm stingy about my stuff.
I know you are. I know you are.
Whether it's toys or whatever, I don't like people playing.
But we just rented that mini for 3 weeks at the college, and that was $3,500.
Yeah, for a whole week though. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. But that's municipality price and no tax and other stuff too. But
and we due to the fact that I've lived in the neighborhood for long ass time, and we still have some people that talk to us. We call in a favor or barter something out or whatever. I got a couple of people I think I might be able to squeeze enough to, you ain't doing nothing this week. Can you come down and dig a hole in my backyard?
Right. Yeah, we've always done some, I don't know, trade of services or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, if it's all possible. And obviously you got to have the right players for anything like that. You got to have somebody that's got the equipment or a app or will do it, can do it. It's just the way it is. But
that pond I think would serve a lot of purposes, like you said, a lot of pinch points, a lot of habitat creation with the different amounts of habitats that would come together with that because of how that lays in there.
And it would not only, of course, where you're going to have is a pond. There's not going to be a whole lot of food plot there, but where we take that dirt out that pond and move it to the north as far as the first pond on the power line, that piece of that power line that's not workable now, food plot.
Possible.
Well, no possible too.
Well, and I was going to say the same thing. I would like to take some of it when that gets done and build second trail up a little bit so that doesn't have that big, huge rut hole in it, and that there's other dirt work that can be done in correspondence.
Yeah, some of those small
projects
you can do that now. We got bucket tracker. We can play with that shit. That
Well, the problem with that is right there where that hole is. If you look at it, it dips there. It's a natural kind of low point.
What are you talking about? Mud puddle is?
Yeah.
Well, we got to do something because if we turn a pond into there, that won't be matter so bad.
Not as much.
But that polywoggeries and
Oh, I know.
Everything drinks out of it too.
So is the big pond that's right in there off to the.
I understand
the east and west.
But if we put a pond in there just off to the side of that second pond in the chain,
getting closer to the elbow,
then we could fill that in. It won't be bad.
Right.
That's some place that.
Right.
AK, and there's two trails, big trails that go right through there.
Yeah.
And if that was a strip between two ponds or whatever, that's going to be a killing spot.
Oh yeah. And a place again, you can blow some scent over the pond to hunt with your back up to it. And
depends on which side you hunt over.
True.
Whether it's and if you got two ponds, you could always split that or whatever.
Yep. Or make it so one's got a gate on it, and it's as simple as opening up the gate during deer season if you want them to go through it.
Yeah, you're right about that.
All you gotta do is put a gate across it, and they ain't gonna swim it if they don't got to.
No, they ain't gonna jump the gate either.
No, if they don't got to.
No.
As soon as you open it, they'll be going through it that night.
Well, especially if it's planted something like that.
We noticed that we put the gate in down below your house before it was your house.
Oh yeah.
We noticed that changed them completely. They started going across the ditch just because it was next spot. Now they walk right up and down Dan Laneway.
Well, that's because the gate's open all the while.
Because the gate's open all the while. Yeah.
But no, so pond, and then you got a thing on there, oaks. I assume that you're talking about releasing some of the ones that have naturally come out on the farm.
Yeah, I've done kind of a census as we shed hunt every year. And I think the last I counted, I think we have 42 non-planted, meaning stuff we haven't put on there, 42 oaks on the property. That's over 200 acres. That's not a very heavy oak.
No, and you've got a lot of them in specific areas, and I know a lot of them that I know of, but I haven't walked it nowhere near as much as you have, grid work wise.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably going to be more than that on there, and you're going to realize that here in the next couple of years when the ash trees start tipping over.
Yeah, and on pockets open up and stuff like that, and the apple trees start phasing out, and they pop up through it.
6 foot trees, 10 foot now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to change. But if you already got a little bit of a jump on the ones that are already there, when that second string comes in, you can give them the kick in the ass that they need.
Yeah, that oak project, that was something I was going to try to tackle here, right now where we're talking the last 2 weeks. And that's kind of why we've delayed the show and we kind of lent to it in the beginning of the show. But we just had our firstborn. We had our daughter, Nora, 2 weeks ago today. So that's why the first episode got pushed off. And then Hannah got back in the hospital with some elevated blood pressure stuff after delivery. And then, so that's why the second one got pushed off. So that's why we're 3 weeks out from when we were supposed to start it, or whatever you want to call it. But that was kind of going to be the window. She came a little early. I thought I was going to have a couple more weeks, but she had other plans.
Somebody been telling you that for a while.
Yeah, she wanted to crash the party.
I told you it was going to be on her terms, whether you like it or not. And unfortunately, you're going to find out that goes for a lot of shit from now on.
Yep. Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So.
But I think that kind of just ends up with knocking out the projects for the most part. We'll see. Like I said, the oak thing, they're not going anywhere. It's not like they're going to die this year or something like that if we don't get to that. And that's what we're talking about, prioritizing these projects, like Skid Road being one of the major ones. Towers, but that's later summer. Food plot expansion. Some of them we can't probably get on because it's a little soft.
But now is the time to start working on them. So come planting time, we can get them into something depending on what we're going to put into them.
Yeah.
Then we'll try to get into that a little bit more in depth on when we get into the food plot episode per se, on why we split food plots up to 3 or 4 different cultivars,
layout, rotation,
why we're putting something there that we haven't normally put there, or something we put there all the while we ain't putting it there no more. Or what. But we'll get into that at another time because that's going to be big.
Yeah,
that's going to
be a full episode.
And I've been thinking about it a little bit, and probably if you go and start using it for the food plot part, 2 of them probably would be better than 1 down the road. 1 meaning, what are we going to do as far as maintenance on the food plots, improvements, etc., the extensions? What are we going to do with it specifically, and so on, and around the perimeters, and then go into what are we going to plan on said food plot in this particular portion of it, or whatever.
Yeah, and then talking about the maintenance side of it, like I said, this is kind of our segue into the part 2 episode, or part 2 or part 3 episode of it. Soil tests, they got to get a little bit of update on them.
Yeah, we got to get down to that pretty soon.
And that could be a whole part of, and we test in March historically, and that's why we want to test the same time of the year.
Yeah.
For a good baseline.
Right. But some of that stuff we might want to, we want to get it done as quickly as possible with soil testing specific, because some of the stuff you put into it, even
it's going to go in early.
And it's going to need time to be amended into the soil so that it
lime
does
for whatever it might need. Yeah.
Or even fertilizer takes a little bit of time to.
But even with
the
turnaround, like we're saying, we've historically used Whitetail Institute the last couple soil test outs. They're real quick. I'm good. Pretty quick turnaround. You get it to them. It's usually 1 or 2 days in the mail, and it's back 1 or 2. So if you send out on Monday, your results are in by Friday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
So it's really simple. We got a little soil probe, so it's super simple. You just drive around, pop out, 10, 15 samples across the field, mix it all up in a big bucket, mix it up real good, throw it in the baggie, and throw the rest back in the field. All the spare. And then you just drive around, label your bags. Obviously, that would help. So you don't end up with 9 bags at the end of it and go,
oh shit.
Yep. Sharpie marker if you're writing on the bags, not like a pen, but you poke holes in it and you'll smear it. It doesn't like to hold to that bag. No, it's kind of
and label it before you fill it.
Yep, label it before you fill it. Another good tip. But
it's easier to write on flat as opposed to big,
clumpy,
look like
knobby. Try to keep the rocks out of it and other stuff like that too.
It's like writing on a marshmallow.
Give them plenty of soil too. Don't be stingy on that fill line, and don't overfill it either.
Well, right. Well, I'm looking at. I had a little sub list, and it's something that I said something about the other day, and we didn't get into it. But we got some maintenance on some of the buildings we got to look into.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna lose shit for storage and so on.
Storage and structures.
Yeah, and that's just a matter of fixing it. And
I know you said the stone shed. got a punch hole from that box elder.
Yeah, fuck, it fell over onto it, poked a hole in the
What do you
roof,
think?
because it's leaking, so I gotta figure it, poked a hole in it.
Probably.
So, and then one of the camp roofs, I think that's one of the ones that we should try to save. That's starting to show a leak too, so. Stuff that's.
The first one there before the blockhouse, the one diagonal to it.
Yeah.
The one next to it, I think, might be done. That one's opened right up now.
Yeah. Well, that plywood, once that plywood gets exposed,
it's done.
And it's,
Well, they haven't been roofed as long as.
Well, it's 40 years old dry plywood.
Yeah.
Make it wet,
Shingle,
and it just goes away.
Yeah.
Just goes away. So
Right.
that's something we gotta think about. That's a long-term thing, but it's something we gotta address because the stone shed's been leaking for a while. And that's starting to screw up.
And that's one of the primary kind of storage buildings.
To put, yeah. And then, looking into the stone shed, we got to figure out how to figure it out, but make it so we can open the other end door so it don't get so sweaty in there.
Cut the moisture down a little bit.
Because it's a stone shed, folks. We don't want to talk about it. It's basically a basement from a hog barn, so it's all cement. The roof is cement. The walls are cement. The floor is cement. They used to put apples down there, semi-cold storage back in the day. So in the summertime, it sweats bad.
Yeah.
For the hot and the cold and stuff. And then that's rough on equipment.
That moisture and that condensation.
All the while. That raises hell with them.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's something. Opening another door, I think that would help.
And maybe one of the panels. And I think it has a side. Does it have a side door by that one open panel?
It does.
Yeah.
Where the 4,000 sets.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think there's a side door panel too.
There is.
But I think that wouldn't take much, especially now that we got your tractor with the bucket and the toy over there to get that little switchback that goes down there to it. That used to be the laneway down to it. That wouldn't take much.
Yeah, down by the block. Yeah.
Yeah, on the north end of it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much to open that back up.
No.
It's mostly sumac and
a
couple other stuff that's just crept in with time.
Yeah.
But anything else that crept on the project list?
No, not that I don't think we fencing.
And then that was the one thing with the trails that I started noticing last year. Some of the hogweed encroachment coming back. It's been a few years since. Yeah, that was one thing that popped in my head for the trail maintenance was the battle that we had with giant hogweed on the farm. That's ongoing, and it's like
just to keep it at bay.
Yeah, keep it.
And it's tenacious to the fact that you get 2-3 years into a food plot, and you go out there and it's like, where the hell did that plant come from? Or where down 3 plants come from? And that's there.
Well, and then we read that there's 40 to 60 years soil viability for seed. So
it's stupid.
So we're talking, there's spots that we'll probably be dealing with forever because you'll go to move a little bit of dirt pile, unearth a seed that's been sitting in 3-4 inches down in the soil, dormant for 60 years, and pop, there's a plant.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna outlive that. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna either.
Probably.
I mean, just due to the scale of it and the sporadicness of a lot of the infestation too.
No, it's got too much of a head start on it. That's the problem.
It's too established. The problem is too fast.
So that's not a eradication thing. It's not.
It's just a maintenance thing.
Yeah, and deal with it.
Yeah, and the DEC, they just do roadsides, if they get out there and have the budget and crew time for it, and then the one ditch that, flows to the south.
The 2 ditches, because I got them out back of the house there too, working on that ditch that
goes toward Wes's.
Yeah. Well, and it's the same thing.
And then,
same thing different there too. That goes the other way after you get a little bit past where that
pond is.
Beaver pond thing is.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the same thing with the, the underlaying subsoil. How it is, and it's probably clay or something like facsimile. It's definitely not sand or gravel. Otherwise, it wouldn't be no water there.
Right.
But
I think that pretty much licked the list pretty good.
Yeah. Maintenance on the food plots is pretty much going around them, cleaning up stuff that fell down into them, and maybe a laneway that needs to have a tree cut because we can't get through there no more. The clump box elder that we actually called it box elder, the one that was right on the trail corner there on the north side of Greg's food plot. That's kind of really limited the amount of access down through there. Well, that's another one of them things that it's something that changes. Something that I don't know if we got activity on there or not, but then that just split out and fell down in the trail.
Yeah. Right.
They can go around it, but they don't.
Right. No, it definitely
They have to jump in the gate.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna jump the gate neither.
Changes it.
Yeah.
But last comment and topic, and we'll kind of end with this one because I think it's a really good one to end with. So I appreciate it. Bo Hunt commented back in, says, I know this is a little bit off topic, but seeing you sitting there next to your dad, I can't help but wonder, what's your favorite hunting memory with him? Would you share with us some of the hunting memories that we've had? I mean, we'll get talking, we go on and on about stuff, but
yeah, we've been fortunate.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And a lot of them, people are gonna say, well, how can you think that that's a hunting thing?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them that nothing was killed.
Just laughing, having a good time.
Some of them we weren't goddamn laughing. In fact, a lot of them when you were younger, we weren't laughing a lot of the turkey times.
You want me to plug my ears?
You don't have to.
I'll plug my ears.
No, I ain't gonna talk bad about you. But the fact of the matter is, when you got a little boy sitting next to you, 3, 4, 5 years old or whatever, but sitting with you for 4 or 5 hours or whatever, whether you took a nap or whatever, and spoils the hunt, that is what it is.
You still killed them though.
Eventually,
just not that day,
or the other day, or the other day, or the other day. We went around with
that
goddamn the ghost. That son of a bitch, he was bad.
Yeah.
But, and that's one of my Achilles heels too, is once I get a hold of one of them goddamn birds like that, I just 9 times out of 10 I'll kill him.
Mm-hmm.
It might take me 3, 4 years, but I'll get his ass. But and I get so one-sided.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm turkey hunting. That's what I'm turkey hunting.
Yeah. But no, I mean,
I think one of the, and I don't know how it affected you. I do. On property, when we got into those times, they flew down and were right with us when you were real little.
Yep.
Down on the end of First Trail.
Yep.
Under that apple tree.
Yep. Yep. That was,
you know,
we drove in there and that was, I remember,
the sun before we owned it, way before.
Yeah, sun coming up, the cobblestone silhouetted by the freaking sun.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff that I remember, and then slinking up there First Trail. Well, it was just a ridge at that point. Well, the apples were pretty much road still. It was a little different.
They were, but it was more open. But yeah, oh shit.
Yep, they flew down right in us.
Yeah, the towns are gobbling and raising hell. It was
right on top of us.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
The
double at
top field.
Yep, in that foggy, rainy morning.
Oh, but that was, you're talking about over to the big woods?
No, the double at top field was foggy that morning.
I thought you were talking about the one that we got
pouring rain.
Yeah, over the goddamn balonies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the big woods in the pouring rain before school.
Yeah, before, because we knew he was going to be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah.
Buzzer beater turkeys. That one, that Bishop Farm. I remember the one on the Bishop Farm. That one, we chased them all morning, back and forth, and they killed them. I think it was 11:57 or 11:58 or something.
Down to the last. Yeah.
Worked that bird all morning.
Yeah.
A lot of them. A lot of deer tracks over the years.
The other one is another one that was pretty good, and because we put preparation into it, the one that we killed that Jaco around the Bishop Farm.
Mm-hmm. Go in there in the middle of the night, clip out a hole in the frickin' rose bush to slink in there. Because 2 hours later,
going to dump into the field right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember, I just about ready to too far bend. Boom! Too late then.
Rolled him.
Oh yeah, no, you killed him. I didn't. Yeah, no, but yeah.
A lot of good turkey hunts over the years.
Yeah.
A lot of good turkey hunts.
And like I said, there was a majority of them you weren't toting no gun. You were young.
Yep, I was on the watching end of it.
No,
watching and learning.
No, part of my terminology, you were on the fucking things up end of it a lot of times. But that's okay.
Well,
that's okay. I took you again.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the tracks, staying with the tracks. On all the deer over the years. The ones that I've hit good, the ones that haven't hit so good.
Yeah.
The one, I remember the first one, the 8 point. I had to let him go overnight. Called into school the next day. went back out there after them and ended up finding them way up behind the Lions school. Got into the goldenrod where the coyotes, it looked like they'd run him around through the mud and shit. And didn't catch him, and then that started getting bad. But then he bled some more, and we kept, pins and needling and on blood on him, and eventually we got down to that
the next day.
Creek, the next morning.
Yeah.
Got up in there and found him laying next to the creek the next morning.
You remember he saying either he's going to be gone or
we're coming right through this old pasture or goldenrod field coming up, and we know the ditch is in there.
Yeah.
It's a pretty deep ditch.
Yeah.
Pretty deep running ditch.
Straight sided too.
Yeah.
So he's got to make a tough one getting in and getting out.
Yeah. He said he's either going to be laying in it or on the other side of it, and he didn't. He laid on the our side, shore side of it, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Didn't even try to go across. He just died right in his bed, right on the.
Yeah, I think he knew that getting across that was going to be. Yeah.
Sit there with a hard back and watch his front, and I think that's what it was.
Yeah, no, he said that's it, man. We're done.
Yeah.
But I'll be right straight up with you. After the coyotes didn't get him when we got onto them that night before, I didn't think we were going to find a son of a bitch, because usually they'd
run them out.
Yeah, they must not have been real hard on killing them that night for whatever reason. Yeah, but that's all right. That's all right. But no, we've had some good turkey times for sure.
Real good turkey times.
Yeah.
I was cutting my teeth at squirrel hunting. Cutting my teeth squirrel hunting.
Oh yeah,
shooting squirrels in the big woods over at the old Poloni farm there.
Yeah, piece we used to rent.
Yeah. Trapping, learning how to trap, learning the woodsmanship side of the stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that, like you said, a lot of it's not the killing shit memories either. It's a lot of the learning, the laughing, the want to wrap a gun around a tree because I'm asking you to plug my ears, or I'm sitting there swinging my boots and I got my white socks halfway up my ankles. Wonder why we're spooking all the deer off. I'm swinging my feet like big white flags at the tree stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it was
been a lot of good memories. Too many to have a favorite, I guess.
I don't even know how you put them down, and I don't think you could categorize them, so to speak. But I don't know how many people could say I've had enough or had as many that I can't.
Yeah.
Can't tell you them all.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's still ones, like I said. I mean, still every year. I mean, who knows? We might be up at Top Field doubling up on birds again this year, and
Skidder Road.
Go kill one on the Skidder Road.
Worked for me. Did you know there's been one up there 2-3 years in a row now? Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I was listening for him today. The geese were over the top. It was nice outside. I was just getting
Bluebirdie.
I was just getting done feeding my birds, and then I said, "Come on, come on,
give me one."
No, not one. It ain't gonna work. It's like,
yeah, gets up, run that skid road. But yeah, that's a sooner rather than later project, just because get up there, get a little bit of
upon us.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
We're mid March. It's time to get up there and get it scratched up, get it pushed back a little bit, and it won't take much. It's not getting too woody yet. A lot of it's just blackberries and briars.
Yeah, it's been a while, and like I said, we didn't do anything with it when they established it per se. So it's got roots sticking up and this and that, but
other than maybe a brush hog pass or two down it just to get the bee tree.
Yeah, that's just we didn't even go that far though.
No, I've gone brush hog past the bee tree. Yeah. Just because I like to keep that open to get up to that spot, even though we can't hunt it really because it's a pitch to get into without bumping all the deer out.
Well, that's the way that is. It lays up there. That's not and even when that finger that I hunted before come down the hill, just by bee tree, they used to use that more. There's a laneway that goes down that hill. It used to be.
Yeah, right down the side of the finger.
Yeah. But then that's changed because of what's transpired over at Rogers too.
Yeah.
Because that's where they up over the top.
Kitty corner up through that saddle and then across by the white bee tree and down the ridge. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, we've had some good ones. That's for sure. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah.
But we haven't done a lot of deer hunting together because that's kind of the style that we hunt. We're even though we gun hunt or whatever, we usually do it kind of bow style, I call it. Chase the shit out of them and 24-hour rule them.
Yep.
And, I started applying some of that shit to them, and yeah, get the job done for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah. But no, I think that's a good place to end it. And like I said, we'll come back with part 2. We'll let you guys know when we're going to do it. I don't know if it'll be next week or Nate will be back on next week or whatever. But
I don't know if I can compete with Nate.
No, ain't about competing. That's not what this is about at all. But speaking of that, want to talk about, we got the runnings, Northeast Big Buck scoring thing coming up on Saturday. We'll be there. Somebody will be there from the show 8 to 4. I'm thinking probably I'll be able to get away with an 8 till noon for my commitment level to it. And Nate says he's probably going to be there all day. And I think Jesse's swinging by to hang out with Nate and, talk about the show and, maybe shoot a couple little shorts for the podcast, stuff like that with the event, and just hang out with the Northeast Big Buck guys and score some deer. I think last year we scored probably 40, 50 bucks, I think, throughout the day. So a lot of deer came in the store, and I'm probably lowballing it, actually. It's probably was a lot more than that. People bring them in by the shopping cart full.
Oh, yeah. Well, the word gets out, somebody can run the tape or is authorized to run the tape. Yeah.
Yeah, and and it's not just last year's deer. It's, you can bring grandpa, you can bring grandpa's deer he shot back in '64. I mean, we've scored them. What's
the deal with that? You got to have an appropriate tag onto them for them old heads too, or no?
No, I mean, usually it's kind of an honor.
Even with the,
usually it's kind of an honor system.
Even with the book.
Even with the book, it's kind of an honor system, as long as it's not like a deer that's going to be like high-end record book.
232.
Something. It's not like you pulled a 232 out of grandpa's basement. That one, there's going to need to be a little.
Look, that's pretty fresh.
Yeah. But you can usually tell they're usually got some yellowing from like cigar smoking in the house or whatever. They got that old vintagey look to them. The mounts are different vintage in the era. It's not like unless it's a remount. We've scored some old wrecks that got that tobacco stain. On a new form with a new hide. We've seen those that got remounted.
Well, who knows what the the cape looked like before they put new horn.
But you have to sign your affidavit that the deer was taken legally, ethically, all that good stuff. And you have to volunteer the information of the tag and the harvest. And sometimes it's not the specific day. Sometimes it's just the season. Like I said, if it was grandpa's in '64 or whatever.
Right.
So. Right. But and usually we tell folks that if you want to enter them into the book, it's $30. Additional deer are at a discounted rate. We will score deer for free or for nothing. It doesn't cost anything to score your deer. What it costs is to put it in the book. But we also tell people if you're not paying to put it in the book, it's going to go on the bottom of the pile for the day. We're going to do the folks that want to book them.
Yeah, and it's going to,
if we got free time, if we got free time, we'll definitely score them. We don't have a problem scoring, deer for folks, but, and usually there's a couple people that show up with some fence freak stuff or something like that they got. And, we'll score them maybe once in a while too, or talk about how to score it with them. Or sometimes we'll just put the marking tape on them so they can score it themselves and have it marked up where to score it from.
Right.
With points and bases and stuff like that. But the running shows this weekend. Canandaigua runnings 8 to 4, Northeast Big Buck Club. I know there's another outdoor show going on this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So, and that's just in Stanley, I think. Don't know all the details for that one. But if you're going out this weekend, bouncing around between the two of them, you swing into runnings. They got some sales and specials going on, stuff like that. But other than that, got the quotes in for food plot seed. So that'll be hitting the rack here pretty soon. I'm going to be grabbing at least one batch worth. I'm thinking about maybe, because of the demand I had last year, kind of scaled it, doubled every year. Probably going to double again this year for the amount I sell.
You take into consideration that new mix you're working on too, or no?
The clover?
Yeah.
Well, the clover I kind of had to abandon when the mice got in and ate all my chicory. So which mice have a super sweet tooth for chicory.
Okay. Well,
if anybody's wondering, don't leave any of your seed unattended. Metal bins are out in the barn now, and I got that old freezer that doesn't work that stores up a lot of my small seed. But galvanized metal bins for the bigger stuff like the corn and soybeans that I'm holding over right now. Dry containers, that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Nebraska mix will definitely be out this year. I'm actually thinking about to offset some of the upfront seed costs on my end because having a little one, money's a little tight right now. Just is what it is. I'm thinking about doing pre-order. Pay ahead, take a little bit of a chunk off for pre-orders. That way I can get the seed in the door, get enough seed in the door to satisfy.
It still takes time to make it up too.
Yep. And I pre-measure everything.
And you're going to find out time is going to be at a virtue. It's going to be less and less of it every day.
No, for sure. Definitely. I'm already noticing that. I mean, today we were running around appointments all day. We've had appointments a lot the last couple of weeks, obviously, with her being newborn and stuff like that. So
well, and not only that, but then you start doing the stuff that we just got done talking about. Then you mix the the newborn into it and whatever else entails that, and whatever you're going to have to think about doing down the road to accommodate her and still get the play stuff done. So that's basically what it is.
Yeah, it's secondary.
We're both pretty lucky from that angle. We get to pretty much play the way we want to.
Within reason.
No. As far as standards go, I think we both get pretty good.
Pretty lucky on both sides of it, for sure.
Ain't no bitch about
for
that.
Sure. And like I said, I'm sure that Mom would love it if I dropped Nora off for a couple hours and you and me went and puttered for a couple hours. I'm sure there'd be no.
Probably wouldn't be a whole lot of issue with that. I'm pretty sure. She gets antsy about every 2 days if she hadn't seen that baby. I'll send her west. Go see the baby for a while.
But then property visits, I got more people reaching out to me now that with the early spring, I've kind of had an influx of requests or inquiries for property consulting. I got to make a business trip in April. So like I said, time's going to start to be crunched with it. So if I can get the seed in here and start bagging some varietals up now to have them ready for August in the evenings, I can bring the bags in the basement. Well, I can have Nora down here. I can be bagging up seed while she's taking a nap in between bottles. Well, it's my turn to watch her.
Well, you got three months to play with that. That's
Nebraska stuff. I mean, it's not going into August.
No,
July,
that's what I mean. You got 3 months to monkey with that. Plus. Plus. So that's, don't misconstrue what I'm going to say, but that's not a time sensitive pressing deal.
Right.
You got time for it. You got like same thing with the tower stands. That's on the list, but
it's on the second half of the list.
Yeah, you got to wait till it's 100 goddamn degrees in the summertime to go fuck around with that. Pardon my mouth, but that's Nate can vouch for that. That's usually when you guys are out there playing with them tree stands when it's hotter than
me and Nate always joke it's either the hottest, and then this year we've put that with a little hyphen and said either the coldest. We took the tractor over there to his lease the one day.
Well,
over there
but that's a little different.
And screwed around on the coldest. The coldest day we had this winter was the day we were out there playing with the tractor.
But that wasn't setting tree stands or whatever. That's into the maintenance, and it's back to that intertwined stuff and making the chain, so to speak.
Yeah, but me and Nate always joke it's either the hottest day or the coldest day when we decide to do something.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Every year.
So stands and stuff is not on the list yet. Not shitty enough.
No.
Whatever.
No, not miserable enough.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the hogweed. It's not like we can wear shorts and wear Crocs and go putter around. You got to be jeaned up and booted up and all that good stuff.
And you got to go where there's been maintenance too. You just can't go.
Yeah, and you can't go
any place you want. That don't work out.
Yep. Right. Another good point.
Because it's just like a jungle. It's way overhead most spots.
Yeah, especially once you're into that time frame when we're doing stands late July and August. It's over your. If it's mature plants, it's over your head.
Yeah, well, it's full blooming on the other end of the bloom. So that's the worst time.
I made some people nervous driving on the 4-wheelers down the little, because once you mow a path into it, obviously you're 6 foot. But it doesn't take long for those leaves to see a little bit of sunlight. That 6 foot trail turns into a a 2-foot trail and you're riding on a 4-wheeler and you got the flower heads hanging over the top because they get heavy and they start hanging down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the maintenance every couple, 2-3 years. You got
to knock back, spray it back.
And I usually govern it or administer it, the spray about basically what I can reach with the
one
from the trail, 6, 8, 10, 12 foot, whatever. I get her squirt out there, and then it gets wiped out, and then it creeps in a couple of years, and you got to get right back after it. We don't have a lot of main trails, but they all have hogweed issue.
West side, south end of.
Oh, that's real
north
bad.
North end of First Trail.
That's real bad down.
Yeah, the west side's probably worse.
And back when we first had the property we bought up through the trail going to Topfield, that used to be right goddamn solid, right with the apple trees. I mean, I'm right.
You got that beat back to 3-4 rows back pretty consistently.
Yeah, well, I doubled it up. I went and beat it back, and then a year or two later, I got it back another. But that's creeping in. The game keeps it back a little bit, but not once it gets established and it gets stocky or whatever. They don't fool it so much. But
yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. And like I said, we'll be back. We'll let you guys know when we're going to do the food plot part 2 kind of episode, and maybe part 3. We'll see how it stretches. We're going to beat up a couple more things in between, get our soil test to have some information on that for you guys, and kind of break that down. We'll be able to share the screens and stuff like that, so you guys can check that out. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and kind of hope you guys enjoyed and looking in through the glass, so to speak, on how we go about it, whether that's the right way or the wrong way. It's kind of how we do it, and it's worked pretty well for us. To just have that open dialogue discussion, bounce those ideas off, and have a game plan. That's a big thing, rather than just going out there and just start plugging away at this, that, the other thing, having a set plan and a set, detail with it. And that's what I tell folks when I do the consulting, is you got to have that solid game plan. Otherwise you're just, you start doing one thing and then that's working against the other thing.
Yeah,
and
I'm not a lot of people, they want a 20-year, 30-year, 20-year, 30-year. I look at that from a little bit different angle, 2 different angles, actually. Even at a 10-year, once you get to that 3, 5, 2, whatever year, that might change for whatever reason. This is not going to work out. We got to make this different or whatever. Back to it, 10-year, 30-year, whatever. What happens to the next door neighbor? And so on and so on. You
stuff's always
making
changing.
that real far. I'd like to have a pond. I'd like to have that pond there all the time that I've had there. But at some point in time, maybe this year, maybe not, because of doing something else. It might because of the culvert project, because that's in the same area. I don't know. But looking down the road, but necessarily you have to put it in stone. Put it in writing's okay, but writing in stone, and don't set yourself up for failure, so to speak.
Yeah, don't bite off more than you can chew with it.
And don't say, Jesus, I didn't get this done, didn't get that done. And obviously don't emulate what we do unless it works for you. And don't shoot yourself in the head just because you couldn't get what you thought you wanted to get. And like everything else, there are some things that are unattainable.
And prioritizing the stuff that's going to give you the best bang for the buck.
Exactly. But if you can't have something because it's not there, it's real hard to get it there. So a lot of people want to make a 200-acre field into a deer mecca. You can do it. It'll take you a while. Then it's not going to be the way you want it for a while, but you can do it. But then that is what it is. But having said that, I think if people saw what we started out with, and if they got a good look at it, and obviously we don't raise the curtain for everybody, so to speak, I think people would be more than impressed. We're talking about upstate New York, no fence, 200 acres.
And the neighborhood's changed,
well, you don't have
there's only been 1 or 2 neighbors that have been there for the whole 17.
Right. And
literally,
and if you think about it, they're the better neighbors.
Usually for the most part.
Well, start counting them out. I'm right. But
True.
what I'm leading to, we've had it for a while, and we've done a lot of stuff to it. Nowhere near the stuff that we could do if I had big pockets. Then I gotta thinking a lot of that stuff. If you have big pockets, you overdo it. I'm not 2,000 acres. I'm only 200. But if you looked at what we started out with and what we've accomplished for what we've put into it, we've done phenomenal. You know,
I agree.
And I can show it to you, black and white pictures, whatever way you want to learn it.
Scale it, do it, whatever. Yeah.
And having said that, though, too, about 2 years that we went and talked to Roger and Butch and them guys about the
like your number 2.
Yeah, managing the deer because
I probably had that old crappy Dell computer that Uncle Irv gave me.
Yeah, yeah.
That thing weighed probably 30 pounds.
Yeah. And basically what I'm talking about is we took intel, data, pictures, whatever, to our neighbor for it was just a couple of years that we had the ground, and said, look, Roger, you know, I hate to single out Roger, but that's just
he was the neighbor, and he's been there forever.
He's a good boy. He's been there all a while, and he see the light, so to speak. We took it and put it in front of a couple of his hunters that hunt with him, friend, in-law, etc., or whatever, and Roger was right onto it. And then shortly thereafter, Butch killed the biggest deer he's ever killed in his whole goddamn life. And we're talking about something.
But just before that, Butch had killed a smaller one.
Yeah.
Shortly after we had the conversation, and Roger told him.
Yeah. Well, Roger told him, if you don't want to adhere to this, go find someplace else to hunt because it looks like these boys got to figure it out.
And then what happens 2-3 years later?
Yeah. He kills the biggest deer he's ever killed his whole life. And we're talking somebody's hunted for 50, 60 years. Yeah. And that is what it is. No. And Roger's killed some nice deer sons too, as is his granddaughter. You know, so that is what that is. But he's one of the good neighbors. Yeah. We got a couple. Yeah. And good meaning that not only they're looking at stuff a little bit the way we look at it, and obviously you can't make people look at it exactly the way you want to do it because a lot of people it don't make sense to them. A lot of times it don't even make sense to me, but that is what that is. But if you have people that'll kind of go with the flow, and you can prove to them in a picture or whatever, you can sell it. You can sell it. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. You know, and same thing with our neighbors to the north. Yeah. And I don't mean, you know, I don't want to be repping off any names, but in the place that I used to hunt in particular, he spun around a little bit as far as what he harvests. Yep. And same thing with his kid. They hunt completely different now because they've seen the light, so to speak. You know, look at you can do this, you can do this, or you do that. And I'm pretty sure that he passed there this year with that equation in his mind.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I ran into him not too long ago when we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yep, passed a lot of deer, just couldn't get the shot, or saw the right one but couldn't get a shot.
Or that ain't the one that I wanted.
Yep, exactly.
Back to that square-headed stuff that I got so bad. Because I'll do that with deer too. Not quite so bad because we've had.
I get a little bit more into that with the deer side of it. Well, I think that's where I get the deer side of where I get screwed into certain deer and want to go get that deer.
Well, yeah, but that's self-induced. You start that 24-hour rule and you start singling certain animals out of it, and then you know, it ain't no different than when you're naming goddamn turkeys and you're chasing them for 3-4 years. You know you got it bad.
Yep.
You know you got it bad. That's all there is to it. So everybody been talked to that wants to talk to.
Yep. All the comments are caught up. We're good to go.
Okay.
Shot a little bit longer than normal episode, but hey, we knew it was gonna.
Yeah, that's why we had
to break it up
and split it down because I knew it was gonna get fat.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back on next week. I don't know if it'll be me and Dad on part 2 or if it'll be me and Nate or what it'll be, but we're gonna hopefully try to get back in the swing of these every week.
The clock is ticking. So
and people got the comments and questions coming in.
The food plot's got to get addressed, you know. And then the next one we're gonna, because of the food plot, we're gonna have to talk about our equipment and if we're gonna buy this or if we're gonna fix that or we ain't gonna plant this or what we're gonna do.
Right.
I got a big sheet for that. The only problem with that
rent this or do that or a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, it all comes at the end of the day, how much money you want to spend and what you want to spend it on.
Right.
Because that's going to come into play. Obviously, you got to have, depends on how big you're bigging it. You got to have the equipment to do it. And I mean that because of
More time.
And that weighs into the overlap with the equipment and time. But the first food plots per se that we did the property, when we redid the power line in 08, I did that with a 14 horse garden tract and a piece of chain link fence.
And a railroad tie.
And a railroad tie and
For white.
240 some hours, man hours by hand.
Second trail and not really turnaround.
That
But
wasn't
second trail
even,
mostly.
that was
Second trail
power.
wasn't second
It
trail.
was power line.
Yeah.
It wasn't even second trail yet. It was power line. That was it. Because I talked to guys into coming in and clean it up enough so that I could maintain it with the thought that I can make this into something that I can benefit my critters. But nonetheless, the fact is, we got
It's come a long way, changed a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, but we got a long road to hoe just to get the stuff in the ground this year.
Absolutely. So
ain't no way around it. Ain't no way around it.
So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you would give us a like, subscribe, all that good stuff to get updated on all of our episodes. We'll be on all your major podcast platforms. YouTube, Facebook is obviously live every week and every episode. And we love to hear from you guys on what you guys think of the episode, your comments, and your topic ideas, everything like that. They help this be informative to help you guys, and that's what we're doing it for. So catch y'all next time down here with 100 Proof Whitetails. Take care.
Thanks.